Yo, you guys, this is Blacklist to the Abyss, and you're watching my review for Mahoka Kokonoro Say, aka the Irregular Magic High School, Episode 4. Alright, and this one starts off with Tatsuya reporting to Mayumi and Mari and Katsuto Jumonji, alright, head of the club management group. He is a member of the Numbers, a member of the 10 Master Clans, just like Mayumi is. The number 10 is in his name. However, you shouldn't let that fool you. Okay, just because he's number 10 doesn't mean his family is number 10. Alright, that doesn't mean they're the least powerful of the 10 Master Clans. Right? It doesn't go in order. Alright, so the Ichijo family isn't number 1, and the Jumonji clan isn't the last. Alright, so it's all like mixed up and everything. So don't let the number 10 fool you. But he does still have the power of the 10 Master Clan, so yeah. And Tatsuya was praising him like in the beginning too, like about how amazing his presence was. You could see his like muscly physique and everything, you know, just like getting bigger and bigger and bigger, you know. Tatsuya was just praising him, so he's definitely impressive, and we'll see a little bit more of him in the next couple episodes. But after after Tatsuya gets done with those three, he goes and meets with Leo and Erika and Mizuki, and Miyuki, of course. You know, what would a meeting be if Miyuki wasn't with Tatsuya? Right? So as a matter of fact, they had a little they had a little wincest moment in this episode, in this scene, which was pretty funny. And Mizuki thinks they're being serious. Tatsuya, at the very least, Tatsuya isn't being serious. He's just messing with them. And Miyuki went a little overboard too, but she was messing with them as well. Her feelings for Tatsuya are unique. They aren't as simple as a typical like incest pairing, as a typical brother-sister, bro-con, sis-con type relationship. Her feelings are more unique, and they're more complicated, but you need to keep watching in order to understand why that is. But they end up talking about cast jamming, which is another of Tatsuya's secrets. It's this cast jamming is this magic that is able to negate other magics by using this rock called Antonite. However, Tatsuya invented a way to use cast jamming without Antonite. Alright, I won't go into specifics on how he does it because who cares? You don't need, it doesn't matter about how, the one CAD interferes with the other CAD and with the Saiyans and the Pushians and the Eidos and the no, it doesn't matter. All you need to know is that he needs 2 CADs to do it, alright? That's what matters. He needs 2 CADs to do it, alright? And he's keeping this a secret because if it got out, then all these countries would want that magic, and they would go to quite the extreme means in order to get that magic. Because the ability to negate magic is very powerful in a society where magic is the majority of the military force. So obviously a lot of violence and wars would break out because of this. So he wants to keep it on the down low, and wants to keep it hush-hush and make sure no one really knows about it. Alright? So, as a matter of fact, he uses it in this episode after this, because at the school, he gets attacked by somebody with Egalite wristband on. Alright? And he uses cast jamming in order to defend himself from that magic. And then the person ends up running away after that. Who that person is, it's obvious that this person is a member of Egalite, and is because of what we learned later on in the episode, plus the wristband. They made it pretty obvious. They like showed the wristband specifically like quite a few times, and he's working with. Well, actually, no. Let me just get into that later. Sayaka, all right. She shows up and wants to talk with Tatsuya. She gave him this smile, and you could tell she thought like he would melt from that, and that he would just say yes immediately. And he was like, "No, I'm busy." Later, and you could tell she was shocked. She was like, "Wait, what? Did you just say no to that smile?" Like you could tell she's gotten used to it. Like it was hilarious. She's not used to her looks not working. Right, so that was hilarious. But he does end up going to see her later. But Miyuki tells him after that she has a bad feeling about the situation, alright? She says that if they get even an inkling of your true powers, people will swarm about you in great numbers with only their selfish interests in mind. Okay? And putting that together with what happens later on in the episode, you can tell she's absolutely 100% correct. Alright? And the other thing she's worried about is the fact that Tatsuya is going to do something that ends up hurting him. And Tatsuya tries to tell her, don't worry, no matter what happens, I'll be fine. And she says, yeah, that's exactly what I'm worried about. It's the fact that you will be fine afterwards, that you're gonna get more reckless and do stupid stuff, get yourself hurt just because you know you'll heal afterwards. And so Tatsuya was like, okay, all right, I understand. I won't get unnecessarily reckless and stuff like that. So he won't push himself too much, essentially. All right, and he does in fact go to meet Sayaka after that, and she asks him to join the Kendo Club, but more specifically, more accurately, what she really asks him to join is this movement that the non-magic associated clubs are starting in order to end the discrimination going on in the school. And they don't like the fact that only the Blooms get teachers. They don't like the fact that terms Bloom and Weed exist in the first place. They don't like the fact that the students treat them the way they do and act like the Course 2 students are just inferior to them. They don't like any of that, and they want to end all that. And they want to present this argument to the school about how this discrimination shouldn't exist and how it should end. However, Tatsuya brings up the fact that, you want the discrimination to end, but you don't know what you actually want. It's all fine and dandy to say we want this discrimination to end, but how exactly what demands do you have in order to make that happen? Like, you can say all you want, no more discrimination, but unless you have an actual plan for how to do that, then what's the point in saying it, right? So Tatsuya asks her, how are you planning on doing this? What are you going to do once you present this plan to the school? What are you going to say? What are your demands? And she just doesn't know, right? She just doesn't know. So she ends up telling Tatsuya that this was off screen, but she ends up telling Tatsuya that she'll meet up with him again later with her answer. All right. And Tatsuya ends up having lunch with Mari and Mayumi and Miyuki and Mazusa. Had to get that fourth M in there. He ends up having lunch with those four, and they end up talking about this. Apparently, there were some witnesses that saw this conversation with Tatsuya and Sayaka. And Mari said, "Hey, I heard you were verbally abusing Sayaka yesterday." And Tatsuya was like, "I wouldn't really say that, and I also wouldn't recommend a refined young lady like he was saying things like verbally abuse." And she was like, "Oh, usually people don't treat me as a refined young lady. They don't call me that." So thank you. And Tatsuya was like, "Well, what kind of gentleman is your boyfriend if he doesn't treat you like a lady?" And then she starts to get like frazzled and everything, and she's like, "Oh, what?" And she starts to blush, and she stands up and she's like, "Hey, no, he's not like that. Shoo, he's not like that." And it was just funny. Mayumi especially. Mayumi found that hilarious. And she found it hilarious. She couldn't hold back her laughter. She was moving to the side. She just started laughing and stuff. It was hilarious. And even Asusa was on the side thinking, "Oh, that's sweet." But she manages to get things back on topic, back on track. And she mentions the fact that Sayaka, during her conversation with Tatsuya, was actually blushing and she was embarrassed and stuff. And when Miyuki hears that, she starts to get jealous, and she just unconsciously uses magic, her freezing magic, and the room just starts to get colder. Everyone's lunches freeze. All right, Mari, her drink freezes as well. And she's like holding it up, like, what? Yep, it's frozen already. So that was funny. According to Mayumi, Miyuki has really high interference power. So that's something to remember. She's really good at interference and just her magic overpowering other people's magic, essentially. Interference. It's pretty self-explanatory. Interference power with magic. It interferes with other people's magic, especially since we just got done with the explanation of cast jamming and how it uses interference to interfere with other people's magic and negate it. So I don't think much more explanation for that is necessary. But yeah, so Miyuki's getting jealous and everything, and Tatsuya manages to calm her down by explaining the situation. And after that, he ends up bringing up Blanche. Alright. It's supposed to be this classified anti-magic political organization. Alright. But somehow, Tatsuya knows about it, even though it's classified. So, Mayumi knowing about it isn't a surprise because she's a member of the Ten Master Clans, and the Ten Master Clans have a lot of power in the way Japan is run. Okay? So, it's not surprising that she would know. Mari, she's not a member of the Ten Master Clans, but she's still one of the top students there, and it just doesn't surprise me that she'd be in the know. Alright, so it just doesn't surprise me. But they were definitely surprised that Tatsuya knew this. So I guess Tatsuya either he hacked into some place to get this information, or he has some connections, some more connections. He's got connections in FLT, and then it looks like he might have connections in the government too. So actually, no. Because I was going to say, at the end of the episode, we learned that him and Miyuki are members of the Yotsuba family, which are one of the more powerful Ten Master Clans. And I was about to say, well, since he has connections with them, it makes sense that he'd be in the know too. But his relationship with them is not good, so it wouldn't make sense. But yeah, so he's got some type of connections outside of the Yotsuba. Or either that, or he has someone in the Yotsuba that who actually is friendly with him and is willing to give him this information. But one way or another, he has this information network or some hacking ability where he was able to get this information about Blanche. Because we see him at his house later on. He's got like the screen up, pulling up all this information he's got on Blanche. So he had to get it from somewhere. But yeah, he ends up talking about how bad the situation is with Blanche, both for the school and for the country in general, for the world as we know it, because they're trying to just bring magic down and just get rid of it altogether. Alright, and when he's talking about how bad the situation is with Blanche, Mari kind of gets down a little bit because she realizes how right she is, or how right he is about the situation. It's just like the government isn't doing a good job dealing with it and handling it, so she's kind of getting down a little bit. But then Tatsuya brings her back up. It's like, but don't worry, you're not at fault here after all. The school is sponsored by the government, so there's nothing you can do. You shouldn't beat yourself up over it. And so he starts to bring her back up after that. And then Asusa's like, wait, Mayumi, you do realize what he's doing, right? Like, he pushed you down, now he's bringing you back up, and now you're it was just funny. And Mari especially, she had a lot of fun with this. She said that Tatsuya had Mayumi wrapped around his finger. It was hilarious. And then Miyuki got jealous yet again, which was not hard to figure out. It was clear that was going to happen, alright? But once she actually calms down, we get to talk about the original topic in Sayaka, and he says that he's going to meet her again to actually get her answer to those questions that I brought up earlier. Alright? And after that, we actually see him talking with Haruka Ono. Alright? And she's in charge of like counseling the students and all that, and she wants to do this research into the first years and stuff. And she requests Tatsuya to help her with that research. Not necessarily be one of the samples, but like just help in general, because he is kind of unique. So he would be an outlier in the sample. And one thing I don't like about Haruka is her voice. I think it's too girly and too happy and all this, because she's more scheming than her voice gives her credit for. Alright? and this is shown by not one of the scenes, but some of the narration that the light novel had, right? Because they should have included this in the episode through like some thought by Haruka or something, but they didn't, and I think they should have. But um, in the light novels, there was this narration that said, and because Tatsuya mentioned the way she was dressed, right? In the light novel, the narration says, using temptation to cause the opponent to falter was one of the most common tactics for seizing the initiative in conversations. It was likely that Haruka chose this particular wardrobe with this in mind, but this student, Tatsuya, betrayed no expression as he replied. No way to control him. Haruka was perplexed at her inability to seize the initiative. He was only 16, but precisely because she wanted to avoid this debris, she forced herself to use a temptation method she was not accustomed to. However, at this point, she was forced to abandon this roundabout tactic. Right, so she's more plotting than her voice. She's more plotting and scheming than her voice gives her credit for. Right, so that's a little disappointing, but oh well, whatever. Um, I'll just deal with it. Maybe her voice will change later on. And I don't mean her voice changes, but I mean like the tone she speaks with will change. I don't mean like an actual different voice actress. But yeah, that's it for that scene really. There was a short scene with Sayaka and Tsukasa. It's clear that he's a dude in Egalite, and he's gotten Sayaka mixed up in this. He's gotten a bunch of other students mixed up in this. Egalite is a sub-organization of Blanche, so they're involved in all this anti-magic stuff too. And they say they fight discrimination and things like the difference in wages and income that magicians have compared to non-magicians, and they want to eliminate that gap by eliminating the occupations that involve magic. So they want to eliminate compensation for using magic. And since magic is so mixed in with society, getting rid of all those occupations that use magic would essentially be getting rid of magic. So they're using a claim that sounds valid in order to just get rid of magic altogether and push this anti-magic ideology. All right. And they're taking advantage of students like Sayaka, who do get discriminated against. They're taking advantage of them and to get them involved in this movement, get them involved in the organization, and add to their numbers. All right. And Tatsuya, even he said, like, I can kind of understand why they'd join up. You know, after all, just the idea of maybe having some hope that this discrimination you're going through is going to end. You know, just having that hope is something you want to cling to. Even if you knew it was a lie, you'd still want to cling to that hope. Right? And Miyuki tries to tell him, like, no, you're not like them at all. You work hard and you have abilities that no one can emulate. You know, and Tatsuya says, yeah, but that's why though. That's the thing. It's because I have abilities that no one can emulate that I didn't end up like them. But had I not had these unique abilities, I would have been just like them. I would have clung to that hope, even though I knew it was a lie. All right. So that's a little bit of seriousness to this episode. There was some comedy throughout, but this episode certainly ended with serious plot development, plot progression. All right, and with all this anti-magic stuff, with all this Blanche stuff, Tatsuya says that there's someone in the background running it all who is profiting from it, who would profit from Blanche succeeding. Right now, the question to that is who? Who is the person who is profiting from all this? And we start to get a lot of in the visitor arc, the visitor chapter. That is, in my opinion, is the best arc in the series because it makes everything that happens in every arc relevant. All the arcs become relevant to the overarching story because I remember thinking after this arc ended, the enrollment arc with Blanche and everything, I remember thinking at multiple points like that's kind of just that arc isn't really relevant to the overarching story. I mean, it develops the whole discrimination thing, but in terms of the overarching story and plot, it's not that relevant. But then it turned out that it actually was. And it's because of this guy in the background is profiting from it. All right, so that is something that is going to be relevant later. This guy, this person, these people who are in the background running Blanche and being responsible for it. But in the end, Tatsu says the 10 master clans are not just going to sit idly by while Blanche tries to eliminate magic from society, because if they did that, the 10 master clans would lose all their power. All right, and he says the Yotsuba clan especially is not going to sit by and let this happen. And Miyuki says that if their aunt were to intervene, they'd have to go back to being the Yotsuba. They'd have to go back to them. All right. So in other words, Tatsuya and Miyuki are members of the Yotsuba family, the Yotsuba clan. All right. And their aunt, seeing as though if her aunt were to intervene was used, it means that their aunt is rather high up in the Yotsuba family and holds a decent amount of power. All right. And you look back to what happened a couple episodes ago with that scene with Miyuki and Tatsuya at their house, and it's clear that Tatsuya and Miyuki do not have the best of relationships with their family. And you're thinking about it's just, I remember looking through some of the Crunchyroll comments, and people just, their focus when they look at the relationship between Miyuki and Tatsuya, they focus so much on the comedy aspect and the bro-con, cis-con aspect. But they don't really focus on the seriousness of their relationship and the seriousness of their just family relationship in general, not just the two of them, but the entire family. They don't really focus on that, so they kind of miss things like this. But there is some serious stuff going on here. And this is possibly one of the biggest secrets Tatsuya has. It is the biggest secret Tatsuya has. One of the biggest secrets. I can only think of one other secret that compares to this, and I won't spoil for you. But out of all of Tatsuya's secrets, this one secret with the Yotsuba probably has the biggest implications for the series. It really does. I mean, you think about it. The Yotsuba clan, the Yotsuba family, has a ton of power in Japan. Tatsuya and Miyuki are related to that family. However, they don't really get along well. Tatsuya specifically because he's the irregular. He's the irregular. Alright? So it's got huge implications because his relationship with his family is something that is obviously going to get developed more as the story progresses, but I don't know. It's just I don't know what to say to avoid spoiling too much. So I don't know. I don't know how to phrase things to avoid spoiling. But the point is that Tatsuya being related to this family with all this power in the country is obviously a big reveal, and it's got huge implications for the series in the future. So that's for reasons like this, and just because of the stuff that happened in this episode, I'll give this episode an 8.5 out of 10 because the reveal is huge. The reveal is huge, but there were also and plus we got the cast jamming reveal as well. So two secrets in one episode. But there was also your fair share of comedy with Tatsuya and Miyuki, Mari and Mayumi. So there was a fair share of comedy too. Erica and Leo. So it was just like, yeah. So I'll just give the episode an 8.5 out of 10. That's that. So yeah, this arc, we're finally getting into the plot for this arc as well. So things are starting to move, and next week's episode is probably going to be even better. So look forward to that. And yeah, I'll put my live reaction after this. But yeah, that's it, you guys. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Alright, you guys, time for my live reaction to episode 4. There he is. There he is, Katsuto Jumonji. It's no Y, 2 U's. Or just a U with an accent or something like that. Whatever. Doesn't matter. There it is. Oh man. Oh, technically, he's not wrong because they tried, but they failed. So I guess he's technically right in saying that they didn't use magic. Hmm. She's willingly revealing one of the secrets. And the music again. Hmm. Oh, they even got Erica that time. Tell me he's got the brains, man. Dude, the dude's awesome. Hmm. Hmm. That band around his arm. Remember that. Oh, they just made it pretty obvious, I guess. So, he's doing the anti-hero pose. And now they're both celebrities. She tried to use her looks and it didn't work. Oh, that's funny. She thought she had him. Nope. What is it that you actually want? But see, I told you she has a boyfriend. Miami's awesome. Boom. Blanche. Classified information. Hmm. 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 She gets jealous again. I love the interactions between these four. Hmm. Haruka. Haruka Ono. I don't consider this fan service for a reason you'll find out later. Oh, I guess they're not going to tell us why. Okay, maybe they will. I guess they're just going to ignore it. They're going to introduce that little plot point and then ignore it. Hints. Hints, hints, and more hints. Hmm. I'm not even going to say anything about that. Oh, so they're going to say it themselves. Things are starting to pick up. Hopefully, next episode is just as good. See you guys next time.